Uh-oh, they just moved you to defensive back. Well, first, welcome to the dark side. Now, here's 4 things you're going to need to know. We'll talk about it today on DB Tip Clips. All right, so you're a quarterback, running back, whatever the case may be, linebacker, whatever. Now they've decided to do the right thing and move you to defensive back. Well, I know the anxiety. You don't know what to do. You're kind of thrown in there. I'm going to help you with that today. Before I jump into that, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I've got a bunch of great DB videos and stuff on recruiting here that I think you guys will really like. So go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell. Also, if you're trying to raise your game to the next level as a defensive back, you're trying to be elite. I mean, you're really trying to be good. I would urge you to go join the All Eyes DB Camp members area. I have a link to in the description down below. Feel free to go ahead and join there. It's the best investment you'll ever make. Over 120 videos on drills, technique, coverages, and more. Everything you'll need to reach your game to the top level. All right, so let's just talk about this. You've moved on to defensive back. You want to be as good as possible. It's kind of frightening for you to be back there and not really know what's going on, because you know what happens back there at defensive back when you make a mistake. Probably a touchdown, right? All right, here's the 4 things you're going to need to know. Number 1, the first thing you're going to need is knowledge. Now, that would be the case for any position that you move to. But defensive back is a very technical position. Next to quarterback and left tackle, this is about as technique involved, as intensive as any position that there is out on the field. So I would urge you to right now give yourself a crash course on coverages, techniques, and all of the things that you're going to need as a defensive back. In addition to coverage and technique knowledge, you're going to need to know what's going on the offensive side of the ball. Now, if you came from offense, it's going to be a little bit easier for you. If you were a linebacker or you played some other position on defensive and you never really played on the offensive side of the ball, then you're going to have to give yourself a little crash course on that part of it too. So you're going to need to know formations and splits and kind of study some quarterbacks. Get an understanding for what it is that the offense is trying to do to the defense. That's going to really help you in your transition over to defensive back. It's one thing to know your job. It's another great thing for you to know what that offense is trying to do to you so that you don't do your job as well. So, crash course on coverages, techniques, formations, personnel, all the stuff that they do on the offensive side of the ball is definitely going to help you. How do you get that knowledge? First of all, just watch football games. A lot of you guys out there in this new generation, you don't really watch football games. I get it. There's a whole other world out there. There's a bunch of distractions. There's video games, there's social media, etc. There's also the ability for you guys to see games delayed or just get highlights of games. But you do need to just sit down and watch a football game, and don't just watch it as a fan. All right, so you don't really care about a guy's shield or his shoes or whatever he's got on. Forget about all that stuff. You got to watch it from an analytic point of view. And you know what? When you watch some of the better games, you listen to the analysts that are on the show, they will give you good tidbits here and there. So maybe you ignored that stuff in the past when you were watching a game. Don't ignore it anymore. Pay close attention to what the color analyst is saying and talking about in the game. You can pick up some things. Guys like Tony Romo when you're watching an NFL game, or Gary Danielson when you're watching one of the CBS college football games. Listen to those guys. They will give you some knowledge about the game. Also, you're watching this on YouTube, right? There's a ton of great information on YouTube about playing defensive back. Hell, I've got a ton of videos on this particular account talking to you about defensive back. You're going to have to spend the time. Also, you can read up on information. I know reading's not always everyone's thing, but if you're so inclined, you can go to my blog, alleyedsdbcamp.com. Get a ton of great articles there to give you the information that you're going to need. But do go acquire that information. The second thing you're going to need to know how to do is tackle. And I'm speaking specifically to you guys that are coming over from the offensive side of the ball. Tackling's not a thing that you guys really concern yourself with, and understandably so. It's not a big part of the game unless you've got a quarterback that likes to throw interceptions, or you were on an offense that likes to fumble the football into the hands of the defense, in which case you might have done some tackling drills here or there on offense. But now you're in defense. Tackling is very much a part of the game, a big part of the game. Sometimes as defensive backs, especially corners, that part of the game gets ignored. Everyone's caught up in the man-to-man defense and playing in the zones and catching the football, etc., etc. Being able to tackle is a skill that you must have. Whether you think so or like it or not, guys are going to catch the ball on you. If you can tackle a guy and keep him to a 10-yard gain rather than a 30 or 40-yard gain, you've added value to not only yourself, but to your teammates. So you've got to be able to tackle. Running backs get out of the backfield. It's not always that the defensive line and the linebackers are able to stop the run. Sometimes, a guy messes up or whatever, you get blocked. It's football. The running back's really good. He hops out of a tackle. Guess who has to tackle now? It's the defensive backs. There's nothing like having a guy get through the line and none of the defensive backs can tackle and the guy goes 40, 50 yards, 60 yards, a touchdown. You'll lose games like that. So as a defensive back, especially as a safety, you're the last line of defense and you are going to be more involved in, stopping the run game. You do need to know how to tackle. So involve yourself in the technique, the mentality of it, and practice it as much as possible. If you're new to the defensive side of the ball, spend a little time after practice practicing your tackling. Now, the other guys who've been on defense for a while may not want to put that extra work in, may not do that because they feel like they have a firm grasp of it. They've been playing it for a while. Not you. If you just came from that offensive side of the ball, spend a little more extra time with the tackling part of it because it's a big part of what's going to happen. You're going to have to tackle, okay? I know Deion Sanders said they didn't pay him to make tackles. Well, there's one Deion Sanders. Everyone else plays defensive back. You're going to have to make tackles, so you're going to have to know how to tackle. Number 3, and this might have been obvious, but if it wasn't, I'm here to tell you, you're going to need to have good footwork. All right? So there's you playing in press man. There's definitely a footwork element to it. It's the second most important thing in playing press, right after the eyes. It goes from the eyes to the feet to the hands. If your feet aren't right, most of the time you're going to end up being in a really, really serious problem trying to play press technique. Okay, if your feet aren't right and you tend to grab more, there goes the penalties, and that's just really not going to help the team. So you're going to have to learn the press man technique footwork. Again, got a lot of great articles on that here. Whatever's missing here, I definitely have in the All Eyes DB Camp members area. Your footwork has to be on point. Okay, all defensive backs that are claiming to be good, want to be good, or who indeed are good, definitely have to have good footwork. And that's not just press man, that's playing off man, that's having a smooth back pedal, that's getting out of your brakes, that's flipping your hips and turning and getting vertical and running down the field at 45-degree angles and being able to stop and turn and go the other way. All of that is a part of your footwork. You owe it to yourself to A, get some knowledge on how to perform the different moves at defensive back that involve footwork, and then B, practice it. Practice it, practice it, practice it. Defensive back involves a lot of unnatural moves. Starting off with backpedaling. No one backpedals around the mall or down the street. We all walk forward. So it's going to require some amount of practice from you. So on top of the tackling practice you need after practice, you're going to need to practice the footwork as well. So familiarize yourself with the footwork and practice it at length. Footwork is everything. And finally, the last thing you're going to need ASAP are ball skills. Now, I'll say it again, if you're coming from offense, you should have those ball skills. If you were a wide receiver, maybe they sent you over because you couldn't catch the ball as well. But you've been practicing catching football. So maybe you don't catch as well as the other wide receivers, but you can probably catch. I hope you can catch. If you can't, whether you can or you can't, that's another thing you're going to need to work on. Catching the football. You're going to need some ball skills. And by catching, guys, I'm not just talking about standing 10 yards away from another guy catching the football. Playing defensive back involves catching a lot of deep footballs. And where a lot of guys go wrong is not being able to track and judge a ball from 40, 50 yards away. Those deep balls get guys because they're just not used to seeing them thrown. So you may have good hands when the ball actually hits your hands, but you have a problem tracking the football, and so your hands don't even touch the football because you misjudge it, you overrun it, or it goes over your head into the wide receiver's hands. None of those things are good. Spend some time catching the football, both at your eyes, in front of your face from short distances, but even more so, catching deep footballs. So if you're a safety, practice rotating to the middle of the field or off the hash and catching a ball that's been thrown from 30, 40, 50 yards away. Part of ball skills is tracking the football. It's not just catching the ball when it's in your hand. It's being able to use your eyes to get your body where the ball is going to be and also completing the catch. So you're definitely going to need ball skills, because when you have the opportunity to get a turnover, you have to cash in. You have to be able to get the ball back to your offense and give them more opportunities. I'm sure you've heard it, turnovers win ball games. That is absolutely true. the more opportunities for your offense versus their offense, it only stands to reason mathematically that you've got a better chance to win the game. So you don't want to be out there dropping interceptions. You don't want to have bad hands. Practice ball skills, and that is tracking the football as well as catching the football. All right, so let's review. Here's the 4 things you're going to need if you've been moved to defensive back. You're going to need them ASAP, in a hurry. Number 1 is knowledge, coverage, techniques, what the offense is doing with personnel and formations, etc. You're going to need to get that information and that knowledge ASAP. The next thing you're going to need to be able to do is tackle. You got to be able to get running backs and wide receivers down to the ground, give the defense another chance. You don't want to be the weak link in your defense, especially at the defensive back position. Number 3 is you're going to need good footwork. All right, hard to survive at defensive back without it. You don't want to get spun around out there. You don't want to get shook. You're going to need to have good footwork. If you're not good at it, or if you are good at it, start practicing. Spend some time after practice. Improve your footwork in press and off man and zone coverages. You're going to need all of that. And the 4th thing you're going to absolutely need when you're playing defensive back is ball skills. You're going to have to turn the ball over, all right? When the opportunity comes your way, and they will, you're going to need to catch that football. So work on tracking the ball and being able to catch the ball, complete the catch, and get the turnovers. And that's it. So 4 things you're going to need ASAP and in a hurry if you want to be a good defensive back. Hurry up though. Get on those things. They might be throwing you in the game this weekend. You have a chance to be a good defensive back in a short space of amount of time if you're willing to put that work in. Put the time in, you'll see the improvements, and you never knew it. You might have been a great defensive back all along. Put the time in though, and you'll see the results on those 4 things specifically, and then you could branch out into other things later on. All right, hope you liked the video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Also share the video. You might have another friend of yours being pulled over to the dark side and thrown into the game this weekend. So go ahead and share it. Don't let the homie down. Let him know that you've got this information for him that he needs to have. Also, like I said in the beginning, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I've got great videos coming out on a weekly and monthly basis, not only for defensive back stuff, but stuff on recruiting, creating highlight videos, all things that can help you elevate your game and get you looks, because I know you guys want to play college football. And for you guys already playing college football, appreciate you stepping in and checking out this video. Use it, share it with some other guys, and I appreciate you guys doing that. All right, and as always, all eyes DB Camp, consistency breeds results.